And welcome back to Capital Talk. This bench has just blown up. Somebody, G4S was not in time. Mimi's dad has just broken it down, calling it like he sees it. Why? Because he's a political scientist, folks. He puts a hypothesis together. Think about this one. Musalia Mudavadi defeats Raila Odinga and becomes the 4th president of the Republic of Kenya. Whoa! Sit back. Better yet, lean forward. That's impossible. Okay, so you say Luya Nation walks out on Raila,
yep.
Right? And you say, what's Raila left with?
Raila is left with the Luo Nation only. But do recall this, that 2002 was anti-Moi, 2007 was anti-Kibaki, 2012 is definitely going to be anti-Raila. So the Kalenjin Nation and the Kikuyu Nation will have to come together, mobilized by these two guys who will be incarcerated, if they are. And they come together and they say, who is this likely candidate that we can go to the bank with? And if you have that candidate, and he has the entire Luya Nation, which is the second largest nation in the country, those three communities coming together and they have no disagreements. Possibilities of defeating Raila are not even, we cannot even discuss it. Even
if the communities or these nations are split down the middle, which will be tried, split them down the middle.
Split them down the middle, whatever you do, Mudavadi will still win. That is, if Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto are incarcerated, or if they are disallowed by the courts here to run.
Does it matter who Mudavadi takes as a running mate?
It could be a man or a woman with the head of a coconut. For all the political system cares. That is inconsequential because this will have to be an anti-Raila move.
But then those superpowers you talked about in the first half, Mutahi, those superpowers who have promised, if you will, the presidency. What are they going to say about this? What will they have to say?
You know, the anti-Raila movement, should these two guys be incarcerated, and especially because he's saying they must be incarcerated, which I think was a big blunder. What he should have done is that once that thing leaked, he should have just shut up. By the time Raila speaks, he makes blunders. And in this particular instance, people will see, especially the two nations will say, this is the man behind it. He's the man who caused it to happen. And his masters are out there. And these are the fellows in the UK, Germany, and in the US. So we will beat this candidate and we will do it resoundingly, wherever it is we put there. And Musalia Mudavadi then becomes a guy.
What about all the other players? Does this eliminate the Saitotis, the Kalonzos, the Marthas, the Peter Kenneths, you know, all the usual suspects? Are they out of the picture?
In terms of the presidency, absolutely out of the picture. Kalonzo, as I have told you in the past, will be better running for the leader of majority in parliament if he wants to remain relevant. Martha Karua, I think she will be retiring and she better live with that retirement story. George Saitoti, I don't see him.
In the picture?
In the picture.
At all?
No. George Saitoti cannot inherit the Kikuyu vote. Also remember this, Jeff. The Kikuyus have been accused over the years of not supporting anybody other than their own. And Kibaki was never even a Kikuyu candidate ab initio. He was a candidate for the Luos. When his leg was broken, the Luos were crying in Kakamega, saying our candidate has been messed up by Moi. So the Kikuyu nation feels obliged. Should the son of Jomo not be the candidate, they feel obliged to say, okay, this time round, as he's doing his trial, as we are waiting for him to return, let us do a good gesture to the other nationalities. And that's why if Uhuru is not running, the Kikuyus will support a non-Kikuyu candidate.
Okay, let's come back. What if Uhuru is running and is up against Raila?
If Uhuru is running and his running mate is one William Ruto, then Uhuru will have, and Ruto will have to be on the short list for the runoff. The candidate who will follow that is likely to be Musalia Mudavadi.
After them?
After them.
Raila?
I've always told you, Jeff, and you didn't believe it, Raila will be number 3. By that time, we didn't know who number 1 or number 2
right.
Be. Yeah. Raila, in my own estimation, should actually go home. He should retire with Kibaki. Whenever you think of a Raila and a Kibaki combination, they have brought nothing but pain to this country. And I think that is not lost on most citizens in this country.
You think we've wizened to the fact, have we?
Yes, I think we have. When you look at the social media in particular, people have wisened up to the fact that the two guys are the ones who almost collapsed this country. And now they are about to collapse it again with the coming election. And as a result of that, I think people are saying, no, let's get a totally new lot of people. And also, do recall, the time for generational change is now. Why would you be voting in a 70-year-old man who might be there until he's 80? Well, as we have young fellows who can do it. My 18-year-old daughter will not vote for Raila.
But she would vote for Musalia?
I think she'll vote for Musalia if he will be in vogue. Yeah, but not a dinosaur like Raila.
Wow, these are dynamic times we're living in, aren't they, Mutahi?
But not to say, Jeff, that Raila is not a good man, because some people will say I'm against him. But these are just the realities of politics.
Yeah, the polarized people will say that you're a Kikuyu chauvinist and you're hating on some people.
I'm not even sufficiently Kikuyu. I am what my children are, and my children are not fully Kikuyu.
Yes.
So the tribe they appropriate is, my daughter Mimi thinks I'm Meru. And she doesn't know the difference between a Kikuyu from Nyeri and a Meru. But it must be recorded also that Raila is probably the only nationalist in this country, the only living nationalist in this particular country. He didn't go into jail the many years he did, into detention, because of the Luos. He was doing it for the country. But he must also know that every leader, every political person like him has a time. And Raila will be said to have 9 lives. He's on his 9th life. And once that 9th life is knocked like this, it should just live gracefully.
Yeah.
And I think that this is the time for that to happen.
And your uncle Emilio up in that house on the hill is not out of the woods yet. They still could come after him in 2013 June after he, waltzes out.
Why do you think Emilio is saying that we do this in 2013? Because when he's president, he's safe.
He's safe.
He's safe. So 2013 election is done. We have a runoff April 17th, 2013. The president cannot be sworn in until 14 days are over. So you add another 14 days from 17th. 1st of May is only the time you can swear that president in. But if we have a contest that will require a re-election, so that we have another set of elections, because candidate who has won has been disqualified by the courts, then Emilio will have another 3-4 months. So it is possible for the man to stay on for the whole of next year. He's buying political insurance.
Yeah, buying time.
He's buying time.
Yeah, but if Uhuru and Ruto are summoned to The Hague for this new developments, if you are them or if you're advising them, you say, don't go?
I wouldn't show up. And I told you this even day one when they went.
When they went for the confirmation?
Confirmation, I wouldn't show up. This time round, all options have been completely exhausted. They have done an appeal, and the appeal didn't even go to the final stage. The judges who had listened to their cases decided that this has no merit at all. So they killed it. Now they have to go to full trial. Where in the world do you have a guy who is labeled an international criminal, have him roaming around Paris, going to Amsterdam? It hasn't happened. And actually, if I were them, between now and April, I would not even leave the country. Because you go off to see your doctor in London, then the summons of arrest are issued against you. And when you are at Heathrow, first class lounge, waiting to board, you are arrested. And you come back here 21 years later. So either way, those guys have to stay at home. I hope they're having a bunker somewhere. But the problem with that is the politics it will generate. Because if you're at home and Raila tells Kibaki, arrest these people, but the man to arrest them is Kimemia, who is the new Mudaura. The new Mudaura cannot arrest Mudaura and send him to The Hague. So there is likely to be polarity between the Kibaki faction of government 1A and government 1B. And that polarity will be such that Raila will be saying, you cannot be having criminals, international criminals hiding here and we are not taking them. And Kibaki is saying, forget about it, I'm not doing it. So that polarity is what will cause the collapse of the coalition government. And that's what Raila is waiting for, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that does not necessarily mean that elections will be called, like you said.
Absolutely. The judges were completely wrong on that. There is no legal instrument, and I challenge anyone to show this to me, that says that once a coalition government collapses, an election is held. Even the new constitution implies it in the 6th schedule. But that implication, it implies it, but that it's not very clear about it. And should Raila walk out, Kibaki will continue as president with his 22 cabinet members for until the kingdom come when a new president is elected. Yeah. But there is no way to trigger an election. Because also recall that when we go for elections in March 2013, the elections for governors and senators and all that will have to happen in December. Yeah. And if you collapse the coalition government before, it does not necessarily mean that you will dissolve parliament. So essentially, that particular ruling was completely messy and inelegant in my own thinking. And I'm saying this because Dr. Mutunga asked us to interrogate as a public, scrutinize these judgments. Yeah. And I do not see any particular legal instrument allowing for that election to happen. So, but Raila is looking to become a hero, because in the past he has always hit the crescendo politically, having done something heroic, moving out of KANU when he was KANU Secretary General and joining with Kibaki. High politics, crescendo very high. That's what thrusted Kibaki into power. Last time, doing the referendum and causing a bit of razzmatazz just before the election, he gets high. This time around, he has to quit the coalition government to get the oomph, to take him to a high. And that high is what is going to thrust him into power. And that high can only happen if he quits coalition government and says, I'm quitting it because these masters of impunity are being protected by chief master of impunity in the person of Mwai Kibaki. He's not taking them to the lead.
What if he asks Mudavadi to be his running mate and says, we'll do this together and I'll hand over to you after one term?
Mudavadi will not agree. Mudavadi is not stupid. I told you, he was a student of Moi, top-notch political man. And then he did his internship under another top-notch political thinker in the person of Raila Odinga. That man is dangerous. Totally dangerous. I would look at him and be afraid. Be very, very scared.
Be very afraid. Mutahi. This bench today, man. Whoa.
G4S.
G4S. Thank you, my brother. That's the last word. Mutahi Ngunyi, somebody call someone. The bench. We need a new bench now. Mutahi has totally burnt this one with his hypotheses. Listen out for it. He says you can take this to the bank. Oh, I need to watch this show over and over again just to take it all in. In the meantime, what a guest. What a show. What a week it's been. No doubt the inmates have taken over the asylum. Mutahi Ngunyi just confirmed that. No doubt the last word on the bench. You cannot find guests like Mutahi Ngunyi anywhere else but right here on the bench. And the award-winning station K24, where we are, yes indeed, even in times of shocking revelations, we're still all Kenyan.
All the time.
Mimi's dad.
I think I'm getting slow on that one.
Capital Talk is filmed at Fairmont, the Norfolk. And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. Now more than ever, I'm Jeff Kananga. Now, if you've been watching The Bench all this week, you know the theme, State of the Nation. Have the inmates taken over the asylum? We're going to wrap it up with a gentleman who is the best person to wrap things up because his word is the last word. No doubt about it. Every time he puts together a hypothesis, It always turns out right. He calls it, it turns out no matter what. So don't even try and bet against him because he's a political scientist. He puts science in his hypotheses and comes up with solutions. So, the letter in Parliament, was it a fake or a genuine fake? The Prime Minister coming out, guns blazing. Mudavadi, ooh, what's up with that? ICC, Thomas Lubanga, first test case, conviction. What's going to happen to our Campo 4? Sit back, folks. He runs an outfit called the Consulting House, yes, in East, West, Central Africa. 2 words, Mutahi, Ngunyi, Consulting House.
It's only house.
It's the only house. How are you, man?
I'm very good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
My goodness, this place is spinning.
Things are hot. Things are. I left the country for about a week.
Yeah.
I come back and everything is on fire. I'm told your uncle has stated that the elections will be in March.
Which you predicted like 3 years ago.
Yes, but he is right. Kibaki is so right. The elections will happen in March, actually exactly March 17th, 2013.
We can write that down.
That one is a fact. But I must also say this to you, Jeff, that I think the judges were wrong or on the second account. Because they said either elections happened March 2013 or if the 2 principals agreed to dissolve Parliament. Willie Mutunga has invited us many times to interrogate these judgments, to subject them to public scrutiny. And as I looked at that judgment, I said they were wrong to say that the 2 guys, that's the 2 principals, can actually dissolve, cause an election to happen. That is not anywhere because the National Accord, there was an element in the National Accord that allowed that should the coalition government collapse, then we go into an election.
Right.
But that was a draft that was just before the one that was signed.
So it's not even in there?
It is not there, and I challenge anyone to go read it. It's available in kenyalaw.org.
Yeah. So if one section of the coalition government decides to opt out, walk out en masse, doesn't necessarily mean an election?
Absolutely not. And Raila is going to walk out.
He will?
He is going to walk out sooner than later. And he's actually bracing for a fight to allow him to walk out. And once he walks out, Kibaki will be left with half a loaf and he will limp with it all the way to 2013. And even after 2013, the new president can only be sworn in on May 1st, should there be a runoff. So Kibaki is on with half a cabinet all the way to May 2013.
Speaking of the Prime Minister coming out, guns blazing, what did you think of his statement the other day saying that Uhuru and Ruto deserve to be in jail?
I think the dossier that was released was, the way it was coached could have been a lie, but the tale it told was correct. In my own thinking. And the tale had 2 components to it. The one that Raila should be the beneficiary of these 2 guys being incarcerated, and that the 2 actually maybe want to avoid incarceration. That could also be a possibility because if I was one of them, I would not show up at The Hague.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't show up. So on that account, it was right, 1. But 2, the dossier was also right in the sense that they want to fix Mwai Kibaki after retirement. That is a possibility. But I may be wrong in assuming that the man to fix him will be Raila Odinga.
Well, we've been saying this all along, Mutahi. We've been saying this. The person who bore the greatest responsibility,
is your uncle. But we cannot jail your uncle without jailing Raila Odinga.
So they both have to be in it.
Both of them have to be in it. And that's the reason why a man called Ruto is saying the biggest beneficiary of the clashes we had was Raila Odinga. So his prime ministership and the letter that wrote it is signed in blood, the blood of the victims that we killed.
Yeah, but Ruto, we shouldn't forget that he was in it as well.
He was also in it, and so was Kosgei, and now we are told that Uhuru was on the other side. But when I investigate the evidence on that also, the police killed 600 people. We as native Africans killed 700 people. I do not want to belittle the fact that 700 people is very important as a group of people. But the Germans killed 6 million Jews. The Rwandese killed 1 million. We should be more concerned with the living as opposed to the ones who died, in my view. Although justice for them must be given, but our focus as a country should be more on the living.
Yeah. With the conviction of Thomas Lubanga, first one at the ICC, does this send shivers down the spines of your Campo 4? Because it looks like that one could be fast-tracked.
I do not think that the Ocampo 4 will be convicted.
You don't?
I don't think so. This is political in my own thinking. I think that they want to remove them from the political theater to allow for whoever they have in mind to become president. And once they've gone in there after a month, no, after a year or so, they will tell them, oops, sorry, we didn't have enough evidence to convict you, so you can go.
And that'll be too late because they'll be
They'll have been fixed. In the meantime, the passports for your children studying abroad have been withdrawn. Your wife cannot travel also because she'll be seen as a wife of an international criminal, because that's the label that you will have. Children of an international criminal, you become completely caged at home.
You're a pariah.
You're a pariah completely. And you'll have been messed even psychologically. I don't know how those guys are surviving. They could go mad.
Yeah. There's talk, Mutahi, the trial itself could begin as early as July.
In fact, they say that by May we should know. By May we should know when the trial is happening. If it doesn't begin by May, they want to fast track this as well.
Yeah.
But this kind of trial could also take a very long time. And I think it might last and drag for a very long period.
So, but they can still, if they are not to be in The Hague throughout, they could still come back. They can still commute, in other words, to The Hague and still campaign. No. No,
these guys are going to be arrested. My own thinking. And if you to look at the parties, where was Lubanga? Was he enjoying himself in Kinshasa as he was being tried? No, flying in and out. No, these guys are going to be called. And they'll be told, guys, we are giving you new conditions. And once you arrive, the condition for bail will be that you cannot leave the confines of The Hague either. Or two, that because of the sensitivity of the 2012 election and the prayer meetings that you people are holding could raise temperatures. So we have to incarcerate you. So the question is not whether or not, the question is when. Between now and May.
Yeah, temperatures will be raised anyway, Mutahi. I mean, goodness, no, they're not guilty yet.
If that happens, and I'm very saddened when I read the Kony 2012 movement story, and I saw Uhuru Kenyatta being discussed along Gaddafi, actually being seen as a bigger criminal than Gaddafi, and all the other Mukoras, including Kony himself. On account of the deaths of 700 people. And I do not want to belittle that at all. But when I looked at that, I said, it is possible that all of this is politically choreographed. This is the moral rehabilitation of imperialism. The Muzungus are taking over and they're using moral arguments as opposed to economic arguments. Instead of coming with a gun the way they came, they're coming with moral arguments.
And they have who they want in mind.
Definitely, they have identified them long before. This Uhuru, son of Jomo, this one is a nice fish to catch. Let's bring him in. This Ruto man is too playful and he can cause a lot of trouble. Bring him in. But the man, in my view, the West wants to install is Raila Odinga.
That's the man you think they want?
I do recall WikiLeaks and a deal that was given to him by the Modogos that this, so long as you allow Kibaki to be president without giving us problems, we will support you for the next election. And of course, these people are honorable, they keep their word. So,
so that's the man.
That's their man, that's the guy they have to install.
But there's a surprise called Musalia Mudavadi.
Now Musalia Mudavadi was a student of Arap Moi. But he did his internship under Raila Odinga.
Yes.
Raila was a student of Arap Moi. He did his internship under Mwai Kibaki. So between the two, who is more lethal?
The one who was under Moi.
The one who was under Moi, who was taught by Moi, but did his internship under Raila Odinga, and that is Musalia Mudavadi. So in my view, Mudavadi people are underestimating him, but we can go to the bank with this. If Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto are incarcerated, or for whatever reason they are disallowed to run, the man who will become president of this country will be Musalia Mudavadi.
And how do you picture that, Mutahi? How? Can he beat his boss in the ODM elections?
ODM is inconsequential in as far as I think. And Musalia Mudavadi is doing this to precipitate a crisis that will allow him to get out sufficiently. Either he gets out or Raila leaves. You know, the concept that you can't have two bulls in the same house. Either of them will have to leave ODM, in my view. But do recall also that Musalia Mudavadi was Uhuru Kenyatta's running mate.
2002.
2002. If Kenyatta become president instead of Kibaki, he will be handing over now to Musalia Mudavadi. Musalia Mudavadi was kicked out and went into political cold for a good 5 years on account of one Uhuru Kenyatta. So should things go wrong for Uhuru and Ruto, and remember Ruto was in the same camp, the .com team. Should things go wrong, the man they will back is Musalia Mudavadi. Musalia Mudavadi is he's a very measured guy. He's like Kibaki, but a younger version. He's not controversial at all.
He doesn't polarize people.
He doesn't polarize people. And when you look at him, he will look like a good president. Even he's not as aggressive as Raila is. And people like that type of fellow as a leader.
And you think he could beat Raila one-on-one in an election?
In an election, if Musalia Mudavadi runs, and this is also bankable, we can go to Equity Bank and get a loan against this as collateral.
Yeah.
If he runs, we will not even have a runoff.
Oh, come on, Mutahi, no. First round, he beats Raila.
What beats Raila? That's my thinking. He'll beat Raila. The guy, when you examine him in his calmness, I think he looks like the candidate I always told you we are looking for. That surprise guy coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
And who will just come and take this. And you see, everybody is taking him very unseriously, which is a good thing. When people take you too seriously, their bubs are on you. That's why organs are cocked against Raila Odinga right now. Stop this man. But Musalia goes around telling us he's a wimp. We need to expose him. He is not. Because we believe he's a wimp, then we have no reason to fight him.
And this is not all a power game by Raila. This is not, his politics as usual.
If it's a power game, it's a dangerous one. Raila must be told that political jokes of this nature, the problem with political jokes is that they get elected. And this particular joke that he's playing around, calling it internal democracy within the party, could get elected.
And beat him.
No, the thing is not whether or not Raila can be beaten by Mudavadi. The thing is, when will this happen? And how intensely so? Because I think Mudavadi can beat Raila badly. No, you see, Jeff, what is likely to happen is, if Mudavadi and the Luhya nation walk out of Raila's ODM, what is Raila left with? Just the Luo nation.
Hold that thought, Mutahi, because my goodness, I'm trying to do the mathematics and it's just boggling my mind. And I know you've done a hypothesis on this, so you're not, when you say bank this, I'm taking it to equity, man. In the meantime, somebody called G4S. This bench is on fire. Good grief. Mutahi Ngunyi has just called it. The surprise candidate. 2 words or 2 letters, MM. Musalia Mudavadi. First round. My goodness. Do not even think of switching that remote control. The burning bench is back with the last word in a moment.